It's the Rangers Journal now.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Rangers Journal podcast. I'm your host, Scott Mackay. Just a quick apology for the Rangers news. It wasn't done at 12 o'clock today. It was unforeseen circumstances. The guys didn't have time. We're not perfect. So my apologies if you were sitting down getting ready to tune in and you realised that I had deleted the stream. It's just one of these things. We're going to cram in news in with Motherwell preview tonight, get a decent chat, and then look forward to Rangers playing tomorrow. I'm joined by Cammy. How you doing, mate?
Good. Excited about going to Hampden tomorrow.
Good stuff. Is it not Hambrocks, no?
I've no idea, but I'm not looking forward to the palaver, everybody trying to get into the stadium and all that sort of stuff. You know, you just know it's going to be it's not going to be as simple as the video makes out that Rangers have sent.
Can I ask you a wee bit more about that? What kind of thoughts have you got going to Hampden? Like, what do you think's going to happen?
I just think that it'll be like, if you think about a European game at Ibrox, there's always longer queues because a lot of people aren't maybe used to their season ticket or whatever it may be, and just something that's out with what you're used to. People, my father-in-law, I'm going in the local supporters bus with my father-in-law tomorrow. He's like, I'll come across and I need to print my ticket. I'm like, you don't need to print your ticket. You just use your phone and that's him. So if you multiply that across the support, I just think that some people are tech savvy and other people aren't. You know, I'm going to make sure that I'm in the stadium for 2:15, 2:20, and just to make sure I'm in my seat at a reasonable time, you know. But I just think I think the first game's always going to have a few teething problems. None of it's complicated, Scotty, but you know, you can't if you're not tech savvy, then there's not much you can do about it.
It's going to very, very much be a trial and error thing for the sake of 2 league matches, isn't it? Or so we think it's going to be 2 league matches. Just for anybody that's not aware, there's an update on the daily update today on Heart and Hand from Rangers Slow on Twitter. Greg Marshall done a quick interview with Cammy on Heart and Hand about tomorrow. So if anybody's a subscriber, head on over and check it out. Get yourself ready for going to Hampden. Gary, how you doing, mate? Thanks for getting on. Not another Rangers podcast the other night. I watched it. It was good.
Good. It was the same night as I've done another one, so it was hard trying to find different things to say about the same topics, but it was enjoyable. No, I'm good. Like Cammy says, looking forward to going to the game tomorrow and a trip to Hampden. Actually quite liking it. It's just, having been to Ibrox for 20, 30 years, I've seen Nickel. Maybe it's a bit of a novelty, and I think me and Cammy were talking earlier on, we're jumping about the whole stadium for the next games to actually just see what it's like. So take it as it is, enjoy it. You learn a few origami skills, having to turn up your tickets and fold them this way and that way before you can actually use the barcode. So it should be interesting.
Fair enough, mate. Dave, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. I'm good, thanks.
You're good. Happy days. Right, so I want to ask you a quick question. Paul had put a question up in our community post yesterday before the Q&A last night, and it's a question I've kind of hung on to because I've been thinking about it an awful lot. So the question was along the lines of you've got £5 million from selling Hadji and Cantwell, and you've probably signed one player with it. You want a quality player. I would imagine a Nikica Jelavic type quality with that sort of money. Cam, I'm going to come to you first. What position would you spend that on?
Middle of the park.
Middle of the park. You get anybody in mind?
No, you know, I'm like a number 6, a specialist DM, Stephen Davis, circa 26, 27. That would be my ideal player. I think if you're going to persist with the same system, I would sign 2 players with that sort of money. I think good scouting should allow you to bring in a 6 and a 10 that can walk straight into the side. I think if we don't do that, I think it's going to be a struggle, to be honest with you.
That's fair, mate. That's fair. Gary, what about you? Where do you think we need to strengthen?
So I'm going to go on the basis that you're saying we can have 2, 3, 4 players for that 5 million, 6 million. It's one player and one player only. I think, as Cammy says, we lack depth, severe depth in the middle of the park. So that we have 3 players for pretty much really 3 specialist players for 2 positions. So we need a player there. The other one I would say is the one that make a difference maker, and that'd be another winger, somebody that could create something, somebody like Abdallah Sima that could actually play across the front line. So if I want to pick somebody different than Cammy picked, I'll go with somebody to play across the front 3.
I think Paul had kind of put some options in a question. It was a number 6. It was Rahmani, Shankland, and there was another player he had said Sima. That was the one he had. Says Dave, you get any thoughts on that?
Sorry, Dave.
Sorry, Gary.
Sorry, I was mixed up there.
Right. So I think for me, it has to be a striker. I think we need in the 6, we need a winger still, as the guys have said. But for me, the difference last season was the lack of a clinical striker. And I know Gary's probably going to jump on the Dessers train here. Dessers did well in midweek. I think he has good games, he has bad games, but there was games last season where if we'd finished our chances, you go from a draw to a win, or even, a loss to a win. And for me, that was the difference last season. So yeah, I would go for a striker personally. I think we have to be sensible with that. And sorry, Scotty, I know you're not going to like the next comment. For me, that means you go for Rahmani, not for Shankland, because then you're carrying on a resale value. You've got an asset on the books. Shankland is an immediate fix, and I think he would be good for us. Again, it just comes back to the sort of money you're playing for a guy that, potentially isn't going to have a resale value for me.
Gary, are you wanting to come back in on the point you were trying to make? You're on mute. You're on mute, mate.
Sorry about that. Of those options, I suppose I was going to say somebody. To me, Rahmani is a centre forward. So he doesn't necessarily fit the bill for me. I'd be looking for something to do more across the front 3. Somebody gives us a bit of variety. Somebody gives us something that can move into the wings, create a little bit more. So probably Sima or Whittaker or that style of player. And to be honest, Rahmani, I don't know what he's like. You know what? We're judging him based on what I've read in the newspapers, what I've read in scouting reports. Shankland, we know what he's like. Is he massively different to Dessers? I don't think so. So to me, I'd look for somebody that goes right across the front 3 and give that a little bit more depth across there.
You're on mute, Scott.
Oh, God, I'm doing well tonight, eh? I'm trying to make us professional as well. What a laugh. What was I going to say? For me, where I'm at on Shankland is I'm stoning with the needle ready to pop the balloon because Clement doesn't want him. So I'm very much sitting on the fence now, and I'm intrigued to see who would come in if it is. If we do go and spend some money on a striker, it needs to be the right one for me. It needs to be one that's a proven goal scorer and going for somebody a bit younger. I think that's why you brought Igaman in. And obviously we've got Wally Alwyn in our group chat, and he says what he's heard about Igaman is that the B team have says that nobody can get a ball off him because he's that strong. So the noises that we've heard sound really, really good. So for me, unless you sell Dessers, there's probably no need to bring in another striker, as much as it pains me to say it, because I think we need to be more clinical in front of goal. Right, pieces of Rangers news. So there was Kai done a kind of Rangers rumours video today on the sort of transfer links from this week. I think it was Rahmani was Monday, Leo Castledine for Chelsea was yesterday. I think that was Football Scotland that put that out, but I don't really think I believe that, to be honest with you. And then there was more clickbait for the mainstream media today saying that Todd Cantwell was training with the first team. And for what I've read, that's all the nonsense today. So I think that pretty much sums the news up. Cammy, you want to come in on, mate?
Castledine's an interesting one because looking at it, he's been playing Premier League 2. I think done okay looking at his numbers. He's sort of an attacking midfield player. I think if we're getting players out the door, your Cantwells, your Hadjis, guys like that, you need to sort of backfill the squad. I don't think he's going to come in and be you still need somebody that's more mobile than Tom Lawrence, sort of thing, But I think he could potentially be a reasonable option. But I mean, he's 19, I think, in a couple of weeks' time. So it's another sort of project, sort of player. I think we are trying, for what I can gather, we are wanting a loan with an option at the end of it to buy. I'm not a great fan of developing other clubs' players, to be honest with you. It's I look at Finlay Curtis. Is this boy any further more advanced than Finlay Curtis, who is scoring goals for the B team and what have you? We talk about a pathway. Is this guy, going to be breaking into the Chelsea team? I really don't know. I don't think on the Rachmani one, I don't think we sign a striker unless a striker goes out the door. You're not going to sell Danilo off the back of an ACL. You've just signed Igaman we're going to blood him in. He's everybody's happy with him today, but give it 24 hours and everybody might be like, he's not the nice guy because he's paying for folks' haircuts and all that sort of thing. There's so little coming out of the club. I'm sure there's a lot going on behind the scenes, but I think we have to get players out the door. I think that's the problem. Your Hadjis and your Cantwells and guys like that. The wage bill has came down this summer, but the size of the squad is still quite big. The wage bill's still going to be quite high. I think we're hamstrung by not getting players out. I think if we can get players out the door, then there's things in the background that are potentially ready to go. But it's frustrating, and we've got about 3 weeks to get some business done in and out. It's we just have to try and remain patient and see where we are come the start of September.
Gammy, was there anything for the press every day that stood out? Where you feel like kind of what Clemont says? I know there was a lot of chat about it in my group chat.
It was I've got so much sympathy for the manager. Some of the questions that get asked at these press conferences. Somebody asked a question about Hadji going on a free, which was an interesting strategy. And I think Clemont was it's no my job to, he was basically passing the buck to Nils Coppin. That there wasn't really, and then you had somebody asking a question about the stadium, Ibrox Stadium update. The manager's just said, I don't know anything about selling players. He's then not going to know anything about steel deliveries, So it was, honest to goodness, the press conferences at times are just a complete, I know there's an obligation, the media want it and stuff, but it was a complete waste of time. And there wasn't a great deal out of it other than the players, like say Czerny, he's only had 6 training sessions, and us as Rangers fans want injuries to be better. We want players to be available and durable and all that sort of stuff, but we also want players to come in and hit the ground running. You just have to we just have to trust Philip Clement and the fitness and conditioning people in managing. If we push Czerny too quickly and try to play him 75 minutes, 90 minutes, he then maybe does his hammy or does his calf or something like that, So I think if Czerny, just use Czerny as an example, I think if he starts tomorrow, if we can get an hour out of him, I think it's all part of just the incremental process with regard to that. But the press conference never really told you much at all today, Scotty.
It was quite short. It was short and sweet. And I think 6 training sessions and 1 assist for Czerny's an all bad start, to be honest with you. Money Baldies, Cammy, Money Baldies. Gary, is there anything for Rangers news that you particularly have picked up on that you kind of want to speak about?
It's been a pretty quiet week, innit? You know, well, it's a quiet week in terms of Rangers news, a busy week in terms of Rangers playing and the fallout from that and the discussion around that. So I suppose that's taking up the main focus most of the week, isn't it? How they were going to play, how well they did play, how they didn't play. You know, there's been, I think it's Cammy says, transfers. We're all kind of, I think we're all of the view now that the two that are going are Cantwell and Hadji. The rest of them have kind of stopped talking about because we just assume they're going to be there. So it's getting the two out the door, and we're all kind of patiently waiting for somebody to come in, pay the money, and move them on. And then I think for the rest of us, you know, it's then whether there's any other ones come in and they'll be replaced like for like, as Cammy says. You know, if Dessers goes, you get a striker. If Davies goes, you get a central defender. If Matondo goes, you get somebody that can play in the wing properly. And all those sort of stuff that goes with it. You know, it's.
I was going to say, I thought you were just going to say somebody that can play there.
Yeah, somebody that runs a straight line, not out the park.
You've picked them in your predicted lineup tonight.
I'll explain my justification for that later on. So I think really that's where we're at, and we're really just waiting for a bit of movement in Hadji and Cantwell. Nothing much is happening other than that. The stadium, we kind of all probably think it's September, October, November, really, and just going to get on with it for the next couple of months. And just
November, December, January.
I think we're being unrealistic. People would have been honest if we think it's the end of September. I think that was very generous, but we'll see.
Dave, I'll put this question to you for Curry and come at me with any kind of Rangers news related stuff that you want to speak about. He's asking if we don't sell the players like Cantwell and Hadji, what do you do with them?
I guess it depends an awful lot on their attitude and approach once they realise that they can't go. You know, it's fine for us to sit here as fans and sort of, you know, get a blanket. Well, they don't want to be here. We'll just leave them out. But that is 70 grand on the bench. And, you know, both those guys play as a 10. And at the minute, the only recognised 10, notwithstanding, you know, potentially moving people about, whatever. But the only recognised 10 that we've got really is Lawrence. And okay, he's managing so far. Would I want to put faith in Lawrence managing 50, 60 games this season? Nah, absolutely not. You don't really want to put that on any player, let alone someone with his injury history. But at the same time, I don't think we can bring them back in if they've got a shocking attitude, if, you know, they're mumping about the place, I don't want to be here, because then that's going to have a negative impact on the overall kind of squad mentality and cohesion, I think. So it really does come down to kind of what these guys are saying behind the scenes to Clement when he's speaking to them. He did make a comment after announcing, he came back to that presser and announced that Cantwell slammed in a transfer request. More recently, he said that the door is open. So I guess a lot of that depends on, you know, Cantwell looking at it saying, right, okay, I didn't have any options. You know, the guys have said it a few times on the pods. He's not likely to get a bigger club than Rangers. And I think he knows that. And I would suspect, and obviously there's no inside knowledge here, but I would suspect that a lot of his problems is down to the rigidity of Clement's setup. Clement's very heavily focused on structure, on discipline within that structure, and obviously Cantwell's a bit more of a flair guy. So it could be as simple as, you know, head spatting a bit. Cantwell thinks that he can get a better offer, comes to the end of the window, realises he can't, goes cap in hand to Clement. At that point, yeah, I would bring him back in if he does go cap in hand, because, you know, he's not a bad player. I would argue he's better than Lawrence. He certainly gives you an option there other than Lawrence, but that attitude is huge. Outside of that, more kind of picking up on points that the guys have said than any new. That Castledine, I saw a rumour actually, I think it was the day or the day after we were linked to him, that he was offered to Aberdeen as well. So I don't know if that's a genuine interest from us or if that's the agent kind of flinging some clubs out there to generate a bit of interest in him, if I'm being honest. I think, you know, if it is genuine interest, numbers are impressive. I think someone said in the chat 17 out of 17 goal contributions, which is massively impressive, even if it is at PL2 level. Whether that translates into playing in proper professional league week in, week out, I don't know. Outside of that, Clement said that Cantwell wasn't training. He's definitely about the place. That doesn't mean that he's training with the first team. I think people have just kind of seen it and put two and two together to get what they want rather than maybe what's actually happening there. But we'll wait and see.
I think the Castledine stuff's probably just clickbait from that certain newspaper. To be honest,
they've got quite the history lately, haven't they?
Aye. And you know what? I'm actually regretting bringing it up now because I've gave them some awareness that I probably shouldn't have. Right, before we move on to predicted lineups, Cammy, Curry's got a question for you now. This is the last one of the night. It's not a Q&A. Our Q&A shows a Thursday night, but he's asking, right, you can read it. Following on question, Cammy answers, Scotty, do they deserve a chance when we have youth that are choking to the bit to get in?
Well, I think to go back to his first question was about the players potentially still being there at the end of the month. Mm-hmm. The Hadji situation, the manager obviously spoke about it a couple of days ago. That this is no news. Hadji and his agent in Clermont had a conversation before the Euros. Hadji won't be a Rangers player come the end of the month. 100% he will move permanently. Cantwell, it's just a question of where, because I think there is interest with regard to that. What he's saying about do they deserve a chance when we have youth? Hadji, I think, just wants to play. And I just assume that there's been conversations with the manager, and the manager says, well, you're going to just have to, whether we think he's a better option than Tom Lawrence as a number 10 is neither here nor there. The manager doesn't think he is. My issue with regard to do they deserve a chance is why would you bring in Castledine, for example, for Chelsea when you have Finlay Curtis, Bailey Rice as academy B team prospects? You know, I would rather see them brought into the mix. And without being funny, Cantwell to Trabzonspor, I think I shared this in the chat. They are undoubtedly going to come and try and sign Broxy Bear, you know, because they got beat last night, actually, Trabzonspor. I noticed that Looney played for about 70 minutes. Barisic came on as a sub with about 20 minutes to go. So,
Cammy, I'd like to keep Dujon Stelling at a club, mate.
You know, but it's I think I expect Hadji to go permanently. I expect Cantwell to go permanently. Cifuentes, we all thought was going to some team in Greece. That all went quiet. He'll go somewhere else on loan. He'll never be back in Scotland. We just have to hope that he goes to a climate that he's actually going to be able to adapt to, and we can maybe get the money back that we paid for him. I don't think we paid a lot, you know, but these guys, I think Curry said 70 grand a week. It'll not be far off that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's 70 grand a week. That's 70 grand a week that you could spend on 2 to 3 players that would actually make a difference to your starting 11. You know, that's the problem. You know, that that money is coming out and you're not getting anything in return for it. But I want to see Bailey Rice. I want to see Finlay Curtis. I want to see Robbie Fraser. I want to see them as we're not just bringing in players to fill out the squad. Why have an academy system if you can't use your own academy players to be that backfill?
Mm-hmm. Aye, mate, 100%. It's game management. Bring them in when the games are won. When you're at home to your Ross Counties and that, give them match experience. Let them get a chance to show what they can do while they're learning kind of on the job and a winning mentality. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Gary, is there anything else you want to come in on before any thoughts on the boys there before I get into the predicted lineups?
Not much to us, I suppose, in terms of Cantwell and Hadji. I think it's a discussion that we'll probably have for the next couple of weeks. I kind of find it's a bit tiring because, like Cammy says, they will be away. So we'll talk about them same way sometimes we talk about potential signings, and then it's just wasting time and energy for us. Sadly, but that's what pods do. My apologies, but I don't think they're going to be here in a couple of weeks. So I'm pretty sure of that. They're anyway about, and I think we've got targets lined up that will come as soon as they go. And so hopefully it's a moot point, and as we say, get a central midfielder in, get potentially another forward player in, and then the rest of the squad filled with youth depth from the B team would be ideal.
Yep. Right. Cammy's predicted lineup is here. I didn't have time to make slides tonight, so this is how we're rocking. So Cammy's went with Butland, Tav, Balogun, Proper, Ridvan, Barron, Sterling, Diamondi, Cherny, CD9, and Hefty. Right, Cammy, what you got? Why you picked this team?
I gave you a chuckle with the CD9 though, didn't I?
You certainly did. I've gave you the respect of putting it up.
I done this really quickly just in a message to you. I wasn't expecting the way that I had written it to actually be. I think it's important that Proper is involved. I think he's more likely to start the game and maybe give us an hour. Mm-hmm. But I think it'll be a toss-up between Balogun or Suter. The situation with Balogun is can his body handle playing 90? Sort of, we're in a busy schedule just now. I'm a bit concerned about Suter at the moment. I just think he's not started the season particularly well. Middle of the pack, I just think Tom Lawrence will start on Tuesday night, and I just think that he's looked as though he's been pulling a tractor the last half an hour in pretty much every game. Sterling brings an energy and the legs. I think we are trying to manage Connor Barron. Connor Barron has started positively, but I think the manager's trying to, he's not wanting him to play 90 minutes. He is still only a young guy. I'm very keen to see Diamandi further forward. So I think you could have him playing a bit further forward. Cherny, I just think he has to start. I think you get an hour out of him. Then you bring Ross McCausland on, who I thought was positive on Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. Dessers starts because there isn't another option, and he's off the back of an important goal and a good finish. Jeffy, I thought was really positive in the second half. I just think you sign a left back and then he actually looks better playing one on sort of thing. It's Scott Wright subbed again at half time. He can't possibly start. Matondo was very poor last Saturday when he came on. Options are very limited on that left hand side. I think to go back to Gary's point about Sima, Sima would be ideal because he can play right, he can play left, he can play centre. If you're going to buy a player for 5 or 6 million, he would probably fit the bill because he's versatile across positions, and that sort of thing's important. But I just think Jeffy deserves a start after his second half performance. But it's very much managing minutes of players, and this is what I would go for. But what I go for and what the manager goes for could be two totally different things.
Gary, I'm going to come to you on it. Do you think Hefty at left wing made a good impact in Tuesday night? Do you think that's something that we could potentially see for the next couple of matches, especially the Mora?
Well, I'll give away my team because I'll probably go against that slightly in a moment, but I think he's played really well when he came on, didn't he? He's got certain attributes you like. He's pacey, he drives forward. What I like more than anything, look to whip a ball in and look to do it well. So we've not, I suppose, last year or a couple of years we played with wingers that cut back, chop back, cut inside, or more inside forwards, if you want to call it that, even way back to Gerrard's time. It was number 10s. So having somebody that can actually just bit like Barisic when he used to do that and get up the park far enough. Somebody that can cross a ball deep and actually do it. So I think he had about 4 crosses, but they're all good quality. And I think some of the statistics are really good. So I think that's something that's good. We like somebody that does that in the games, and that's maybe going to get Dessers even more opportunities. And it's hefty. Is it hefty? Can I see that in the comments?
Aye, it's hefty. Corey was on my Q&A last night, and he was struggling to pronounce it. Put it that way. That's the best. That's the best way to say it. It's the most PC way, anyway. Dave, what's your thoughts on Cammy's lineup? You think Balogun can play? No.
I don't think he can do the kind of 2-3 days between games. Obviously, we'll come to my team, but I think Balogun is, well, we're kind of guessing with Proper that he's going to be our best centre back. I think outside of him, then we're probably looking at Balogun as our best centre back. But his body isn't there to kind of handle the repetitive games, I don't think.
Aye, that's fair. I think Ridvan's going to start.
Yes. I just think that, I think he has to. I think he had a very challenging first 45 minutes. I think he's still coming off the back of a long injury at the back end of last season. I think he's another one that's still try to get his fitness and find his feet, sort of thing, But I mean, you could, Gary's team, obviously that is a possibility. I just think that Ridvan's only going to get more match fits, a bit like Tav. The two fullbacks, I think, are still chasing their fitness a wee bit, and I think the only way they're going to find that is by playing games.
Aye, definitely, mate. Right, Gary, why you went for this team? Go for it.
So it's very much about minutes and the legs and the squad and anything else. I think it's moving people about, trying to make sure that there's enough rotation. So I think Tav's an interesting one. So I probably would have liked to give him a rest, but it's highly unlikely he's going to get that. I mean, I think he's probably going to play 90 minutes and then the next 90 minutes and the next 90 minutes for the next period. So I probably look to do that with the other side, take Ridvan, give him a little bit of time. Hefty is a very attacking player. I think at home at Hampden, and when you stop saying this, it's at home, isn't it? Just it's at home for the next period. Let's stop including Hampden in it. Hefty is attacking prowess will probably be beneficial. I think so that's why I put him in there. I think I went with Suter because I think that will be the partnership unless there's any changes to the squad going forward. So I did think about Davies actually, because Davies is a strength, it's probably playing in games at home where he can get his foot on the ball and pass it. So I did think about I'm going to go with Suter because I think him and Proper will play on Tuesday night. And then the midfield again, I've just kind of gave Diamandi a rest. I thought he looked a bit tired. Come the end, Czerny needs an hour, as Cammy says. He needs an hour, then he'll be off in replacement with McCausland. And Matondo's purely about, again, that it's for Stephen O'Donnell, basically, very simply. Stephen O'Donnell is limited in terms of pace. If you get Hefty down at that side, as well, Matondo, I think there's an attacking outlet down there. As I said earlier on, you need to keep him from running off the pitch or taking the ball at the pitch. But when you've got that sort of attacking outlet, we're at home, we're against Motherwell. We should be going attacking, we should be trying to drive at them. And it's a good opportunity to use some of the squad because Tuesday night comes very quick, and that's the bigger game at the moment.
Aye, definitely, mate. I think it's an interesting team, but I can see them rotating to something along those lines. But I think Diamandi stays in and Barron maybe comes out, just because he took Barron off for the last 20 minutes on Tuesday night. And what I like about Diamandi is we all know the passes he's been trying to play, and a Rangers jersey if he came in, he's not got players in the same wavelength. I think Diamandi could be the key to releasing Matondo. What do you think?
Do you know what I thought about? And same as you, I was going back and forward over these different ones, trying to rotate 4 or 5 and try to work out who to do for who. So if I was taking Barron out, I'd probably put Sterling in. Then I thought Sterling probably is more likely to go on the bench and come off for Tav, go on for Tav or for Barron. So that's why I left him. Whereas if I was replacing Diamandi, the more creative one that goes with it would be Dow. Hence the reason I went for him. So it was really a bit of a toss-up. I thought that Diomande is more important to us maybe on Tuesday than Barron is. And I don't mean that badly for Barron, but he could probably play Sterling there in terms of creativity. So I'd rather take less of a chance with Diomande than I would with Barron for this game.
Davey, two guys have went for proper to start. Just going by what Clement's done with the players being integrated into the team. What do you think on that? Would you think a centre back pair?
I think that will be the centre back pairing, if I'm being honest with you, mate. I think Proper's a wee bit different in that he had a full pre-season with 20 before he moved. That's not the same as playing West, obviously, but he's up to speed. He's got his fitness. It's more kind of getting used to our tactics, our movements. So I think I don't really see an issue with him starting. I'm not so sure on Journey, to be honest. I think he'll absolutely get minutes. My personal expectation, I think, there is that he might get 45 rather than the 60. Look to give him the 60 in the game next midweek. But yeah, certainly for the centre backs, I think Proper is about ready to start now. He's been here a wee while. He will have trained with the team. He's already got that fitness. And I'll kind of cover Suter in a minute.
Cammy, can you see Lawrence starting again tomorrow? Just out of curiosity, because he's been ever present through pre-season and then pre-season and the matches we've had so far.
I would be surprised, but again, the manager could surprise me. I mean, I think what Gary's saying with regard to Tav, I think that the manager might have an eye on Tuesday night. I think next Saturday against St Johnstone in the Cup, I think that's the game where Dujon Sterling comes in at right back and Tav gets the opportunity to not play. I think we're more likely to bring in Dowell and guys like that next Saturday. I think it's going to be about getting through the next two games, and then your sort of fringe players, maybe your McCauslins and guys like that will start next Saturday, you know. But I noticed there was one of the comments there, Scotty, about Balogun. I think we'd been talking about how he can play twice a week. That's the season that he was at QPR. Somebody said he played Saturday, Tuesday when he was at QPR. He only played 16 games that season. I'm not trying to shoot the guy down in flames, but he was, he picked up injuries when he was down there. So I think we have to manage his minutes, and I think it's very much a 50 how you manage it between Suter and Balogun to play next to Proper. I still want to sign another centre half. I don't think that's going to happen this window because there's too many other positions that need priorities. But to go back to your original point that I've completely digressed from, I wouldn't start Tom Lawrence tomorrow because I think we'll need him on Tuesday night. So for me, I would be the midfield three that I went for gives you a bit of energy and it allows Diomande to get further forward. So, but that's just I'm not seeing the guys in training. I don't know what their recovery's like.
I think it's going to be interesting to see more if Sterling's fit enough to start, which we don't know whether he is or he isn't. Is Tav going to play at right back? You just don't know. See, with I can't get comments out my head about when he was saying that Tav isn't going to be playing as much as what he did. Now that would be Saturday, Tuesday. He's going to play again. So is he going to get rested, and then we can bring in his experience in Europe and move Sterling, either bring him off the bench and put him in the middle of the park, or I don't know. I think tomorrow with Sterling being fit, I think it's a wee test for a manager. It's a wee kind of statement. He's got an opportunity to make one. Do you know what I mean? I think it could be an interesting one. Right, Dave, we'll pull your team up now, mate. I've just put the comments there. As Paul says, everybody like and subscribe. Welcome if you've just joined viewing wise. Right, Dave, you've went for Butland, Tav, Suter, Proper, Ridvan, Diamonde, Barron, McCausland, Lawrence, Hefty, and CD9.
I absolutely did not say CD9.
Well, you know what? Cammy started a theme, so
creative license, is it, Scotty?
Aye. That's it. Cammy's copyrighted it now. He's CD9 forever, never. See what I like about your team, Dave? I like McCausland because the show we done on Heart and Hand, McCausland was one of the boys we spoke about, and we says he had to be more adventurous. And see when he's pegged that boy and hit a shot with his weaker foot, like that's a sign of things to come for Ross McCausland in my. So I like the fact you picked him, mate.
Help if I could spell, admittedly, but you got the point. Right. So I think for me, the first thing that we need to consider, I get what everyone's saying about resting players, right? We still haven't had a win in a competitive game. In fact, we haven't had a win, full stop, in pre-season either. So I think psychologically the team needs a win. And I think just picking up on what Cammy said, I don't think it's time to start resting folk just yet. I think we need to get that win, get that progression, build a bit of momentum, and then start thinking about resting players. Looking at the team itself, I don't think Butland needs any introduction. Everyone would pick him. Tav, I think, will start because quite simply he needs minutes in the leg. I think he needs match fitness, and he's not going to get that on the bench. So again, I think probably plays today and he probably plays Tuesday. And if you are going to look at kind of what you were saying about resting him for some games, you start thinking about that after those vital games. Proper, I kind of went over before. I think he's about ready to start, or at least he should be. He's trained with the team now. He already had the fitness, so in theory he should be good to go. And I think you absolutely want him on Tuesday, and he needs to play a competitive game before that. You cannot just chuck him in a vital Champions League qualifier with any competitive minutes with the team. Suter, I think, will start purely because, as I said, I don't think Balogun can start every game. And if we do that, he is just going to break down. It's pretty interesting what Cammy was saying about 16 games in that season. So, for me, it's pretty important, actually, that he does get that rest. And Suter, I agree, hasn't been inspiring so far this season. He is capable. Yes, he makes mistakes, but who doesn't? And realistically, there's a toss-up between him and Davies. I think you're always going to pick Suter simply for the fact he can play on the right, and Proper has predominantly played on the left the last few seasons. Ridvan, I've seen some comments. Ridvan had an awful first half. He was honking. I fully agree. He looks so much more solid when he had Hefty in front of him. And I think it might happen by accident. Well, I say by accident, it might happen because Scott Wright's absolute dog meat and had to come off. But the simple fact is, I think accidentally we've stumbled on what was a really good combination on the left in that second half. So I think Ridvan will start left back, and I do think Hefty will start above him up the line. I think his crossing was really good, as has been alluded to. I think Kai said something like 44%, and when you compare that with our other fullbacks, they're around the 20s, so gives you an idea of the kind of accuracy the boy's got on his crossing. Looking in the centre of the park, I would go Diamande and Barron again. Thinking about what's been said since we started talking these through, I do wonder if Barron will maybe get switched out for Sterling now. That was it at the time. Nobody picked Davies. Well, not a chance. But yeah, I think Barron may be rested. Half an eye on getting some minutes into Sterling's legs, but I wouldn't be surprised if Barron starts either. McCausland looked all right actually on the midweek game. I don't think Cherney's quite there to start yet, just judging by how the kind of manager drip feeds them in. And remember, Cherney's coming from no real pre-season. He had the Euros and then he had a 4-week break. So I think he probably will be built up over time. I do wonder if you get a wee half-time substitution there, maybe pre-agreed. Say McCausland, look, you get in the first half, but we're we're going to get some minutes in Journey second half. Lawrence, to be honest, who else do you play there at the minute? I mean, you could stick Dowell in. Is that a good idea? Debatable. I don't think we've seen enough in a long time from Dowell just to fire him in. And then up front, the man himself, CD9. Danilo hasn't got any minutes in his legs in competitive games. And again, I don't think when you're still looking for your first win of the season, this is really where you want to start trying to bed in someone that you know is going to struggle a bit, that's needing minutes. So I think CD9 starts. Hopefully, Danilo gets 30 minutes towards the end of it. I think it'd be a bit of a worry for me if we're doing all right. If we didn't give Danilo some minutes, I think that would be quite a shock for me, actually. I'd be starting to wonder what's going on there. So that's my team. We're probably all going to be wrong. Let's face it, the manager loves a surprise, so it wouldn't surprise me at all that he goes something totally different from all of us.
I think it's good that a manager's not having to put square pegs in round holes as much as what he was having to do last season. He's got more options. And see, the best bit about that press conference today was the injury update. There isn't an injury update because there's no injuries. That's the best bit of news I've had in God knows how long for a press conference.
No used to it as Rangers fans anymore, are we?
I know. It's actually a bit of a letdown that there was no injuries on it. That's why you're just that used to it and you expect it. Right, well, come in for your score predictions now, boys. And just a quick question: if you think Danilo or Rigaman are going to get any minutes, Cammy?
I think Danilo potentially. He's not had a lot of minutes. Again, going forward a week to the St Johnstone game in the Cup, I think that's the ideal opportunity to start him in that. So I would be hoping that we have to remember this, as much as Motherwell are missing a lot of players, this is where the wheels came off back in March when Motherwell beat us at Ibrox. So we need to respect the fact that as much as they might miss players, they'll probably still come and make it a decent game, sort of thing, So I think we just need to get the 3 points and win the game.
Gary, what about you, mate?
I think that in terms of Danilo, he needs to get at least half an hour or 25 minutes or so, because we really are going to start to worry. As far as Gamani goes, he could walk down from Mountford to the train station. I wouldn't know what it looked like. So I do like to think you might see him at some point tomorrow. Although it doesn't, to be honest, I'd be surprised if he's on the bench at this moment in time. There's nothing that suggests he's going to be there. I think, I was thinking about this earlier on, and this is the reason why I picked 5 changes. If you look at our best period from last year, I think it was maybe November to March. I think what he done consistently is he made 4 or 5 changes every week, every game, just consistently freshening up, irrespective of injuries. And I kind of get the feeling he's going to get into that rhythm again and start to just lead people in and out, constantly in and out. So that's probably why I've kind of went for a bigger one. I know Cammy thinks probably the next week will be the bigger change in terms of the cup game, but I think you will try and do that. In terms of the result, I looked at the scores from last season. One hit off Desser's backside, if I remember rightly, and 1-0 at Ibrox, which was a horrendous game. Dowell scored a goal at Fir Park, so that's why I picked Dowell. That's maybe what swung at the end.
Yeah, 1-0 game at Ibrox, was that no one everybody was? I was under Beale, wasn't it?
Oh, it's horrible. It's a horrible game. Terrible game of football.
Matondo scored that.
Matondo had a shot hit off the.
Yeah, you're right.
Via Dessers.
It was one of Desser's first goals, wasn't it?
It was when he was really struggling. It was when he was really struggling, and you could see he was really struggling at the time. But the one at Fir Park, Dowell scored a lovely goal actually, as did Campbell. And then we go back to the game at Ibrox, which was a horrible game. And a whole host of Theo Bair, where is he, away at France now? Is it for £2 million? That he had a tremendous 90 minutes that day. Might have been what got him his move. He was that good that day. So looking at their squad, they have regressed. You think we don't really see the same level of strength. So I am thinking at Hampden, start of the season, we should be looking for 3-4 goals and probably still lose one, given the fact that they're about 3 or 4-1. I'll go for 4-1. Be positive.
Fair dues, mate. Dave, your score prediction, mate?
I'm glad he said 4-1 because I'm going to say 3-1.
3-1.
Yeah, I think Gary's right. I think we potentially will still concede a goal unless Proper has some magical effect on our defence. But the frailties are still there, so I could definitely see us conceding. I do think their injuries will have an impact. It's not just 8 players they're missing. I think it's supposedly 8 that would more than likely have started the game that are missing. And I mean, that's going to impact any team, let's be honest. We saw ourselves last year, for God's sakes. So I think we'll get goals. I think CD9 might even get a goal. You never know. But I do think we'll concede as well, if I'm being honest.
I'm going to go for a comfortable 2-0 victory. I don't think there's any fear. There is a inconsistency there still probably within the team. We're still really early on with a rebuild, but I don't see... I think with Motherwell's... I think boy Lennon Miller's out injured. I think they're really, really bad with injuries just now. So I'm going to go with a 2-0 in a decent performance, enough to carry on from Tuesday there. Just shows a wee bit more progress, get that synergy bonded back again, just ever so slightly. See if you can do that, and then you go through and Tuesday night, everything's just turning, the tide's turning again. So let's hope we go for, let's hope we get a good result and a good performance tomorrow. Cammy, thanks for coming on, mate.
Good, thanks, guys.
Gary, thanks for coming on, pal.
Yeah, cheers. Enjoy your weekend, hopefully.
Hi, Dave. Cheers again, pal.
Yeah, cheers for having me, Scotty.
No problem. We'll try and get a post-match reaction tomorrow or Sunday, and if not, we'll be back on Monday night with the post-match analysis of the Motherwell game and a preview for the Dynamo Kiev game. Apart from that, enjoy your weekend, and remember, every night is Rangers Journal night. Cheers.